Did I scare you this time? I was told to spice up my intros, and this is my way of doing that. You're welcome! Anyway, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here, and Skyrim has quite a bit of content. Hundreds of weapons, spells, perks, characters, and locations populate this realm. Anywhere you look, there's a new problem to solve or item to acquire. But, did you know that despite this abundance, Bethesda had originally planned for Skyrim to have even more content, that sadly had to get cut and left out, for a variety of potential reasons. There's quite a lot that could have been but never was. Thankfully, leftover files by Bethesda give us some insight on what they were preparing. So sit back and relax as we take yet another look into the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim's cut content. Starting off, Skyrim's Archery skill tree wasn't entirely finished. You see, Bethesda had intended for a now cut perk known as Trick Shot to be unlockable on the skill tree once the player had advanced the archery skill past level 80. This perk would have given players an ever so small chance at disarming enemy NPCs whenever shooting them with an arrow. Interestingly enough, while removed from the skill tree and unaccessible via normal gameplay, the Trick Shot perk can still be obtained on PC through the use of console commands. As while they never added it in, Bethesda also never decided to remove the perk from the game's files. And it works perfectly fine, just as it reads. When successful, it will indeed disarm enemy characters, and even give you a chance to pick up an opponent's weapon after they've been dropped. It's unclear why Trick Shot was removed, as it doesn't seem to have any technical issues. Bethesda may have decided that the ability was just too unbalanced, though in my limited testing I never thought it was overpowered, nor underpowered. Regardless, if you are on PC and want to try this perk out for yourself, I'll leave the necessary console commands in the description down below. Next on our list, as we talked about in the intro, Skyrim has an abundant supply and variety of weapons for the player to use. Bows, swords, axes, hammers, weird magic stuff. The possibilities are limitless. However, at some point early in the game's development, it appears Bethesda had wanted that list to be just a little bit longer, as in the game's files are models for a weapon called Knuckles. Now, other than that, we don't know much more for certain about this strange weapon, as unlike much of what we show off on this list, Bethesda never fully integrated Knuckles into the game. They have no assigned stats, nor can they be equipped even with console commands. They just designed a model for it, and then scrapped the whole idea shortly after. But we can still make a pretty obvious educated guess. Considering what we know about similar weapons in the real world, this cut weapon likely would have been put on the player's, well, knuckles, to make melee attacks more effective. Looking at how similar weapons works, it also seems possible that Bethesda may have also planned to allow different variants, such as Daedric Knuckles or Dwemer Knuckles, with their own potential stats and enchantments. I think a weapon like this would have been pretty cool to have, as straight-on hand-to-hand combat in Skyrim is pretty unviable most of the time. But maybe with something like Dragonbone Knuckles, that could have mixed things up a bit. We'll never know for sure how this mysterious melee weapon would have handled. Coming at number 3, we have an interesting cut College of Winterhold quest that would have pitted two mages against each other. Let me add some extra context. Feralda is an Altmer sorceress who lives in the college. Notably, she spends most of her time guarding the college's entrance. Upon your first visit to the College of Winterhold, in order to be let inside, Feralda will make you cast a spell, to prove that you mean business and are worth the college's time. Notably, she has a rocky relationship with a fellow Altmer mage named Naira. Naira claims that Feralda has a, quote, problem with her, and is spreading rumors, though there's literally no evidence that suggests that's true. In fact, Bethesda seems to imply that that's all in Naira's head. This relationship dynamic, however, ends there. It's not touched upon in any quests, nor is there much more dialogue that addresses it. However, cut dialogue and script files reveal that Bethesda had intended for there to be a quest that would do just that, called Research Thief. It would be given by Naira, who would ask you to break into Feralda's room and steal some notes and documents from her, then return them to Naira for a small reward. That said, you'd get some say in this matter, as the player would also be given the option to instead rat out Naira and tell Feralda of her mischievous rival's intentions. After completing Research Thief, the player would then be able to marry whichever high elf you chose to help out. This quest seemed to be completed from a developmental standpoint. All the voice lines are recorded and scripts are ready to go. But for whatever reason, Bethesda must have chosen to remove it at the last minute. For fourth spot, we have not a cut quest nor weapon, but instead a cut book. The Secrets of Ragnvald is a poem that the Dragonborn can only obtain through the use of console commands. It tells the story of Ragnvald, an ancient Nordic ruin that the player can actually visit in-game. According to the book, this ruin was once a mighty ancient Nordic city, ruled by a dragon priest known as Otar. It alleges that Otar was initially a pretty fair and successful ruler. However, something eventually corrupted his mind, and he became tyrannical. Two Nordic heroes by the name of, Sarek and Torsten attempted to defeat the Mad Priest in battle, but they weren't having much luck. However, they did eventually successfully manage to trap him in a sealed room, which they pledged to guard for all of eternity. That's where the poem ends, celebrating these two heroic figures. Now, if you've ever cleared Ragnvald in-game, you know the contents of this cut poem largely sync up with what you would find. Upon entering the dungeon, you'll have to defeat two Draugr bosses, named Sarek and Torsten, implying the Nordic warriors are still watching over the tomb, as well as the dragon priest, Otar the Mad. So if everything matches up correctly, why did Bethesda decide to remove this book from the game? It's really our only source on information and lore behind Ragnvald and Otar the Mad. So if Bethesda decided not to implement the book, was it because they wanted to change the story here? Maybe Bethesda had wanted a different narrative, where instead of the one told in the poem, Otar was always mad or something. But then again, why not just write another book? It doesn't seem like there's any quality issues with Secrets of Ragnvald. It's a pretty good read. Whatever the reason for Secrets of Ragnvald's deletion, it's a mystery that's lost with the tomb. And finally, last on our list, is the mysterious tale of Domna Magia, or Magia. You choose, it's all one word. She's a cut Imperial character, who wears necromancer boots, as well as random leveled vampire attire. Looking at the creation kit, we can tell that this woman was supposed to be a resident of Solitude. Domna Magia roughly translates to Lady of Magic in Latin, so it's clear she'd have something to do with the wizardly arts, if the vampire clothes didn't prove that point for you. To me, it seems like she may have been a planned shop owner at one time, perhaps selling potions and spells. But it's also possible that Our Lady of Magic could have had a bigger role to play than that, being involved in a cut portion of a quest. Or maybe she was a planned Dark Brotherhood assassination target. Something I found weird that I want to point out that maybe one of you guys can explain for me, is when I was testing to see this character's stats and tell whether or not she was essential, which by the way the answer is no, she is not essential, I was constantly killing her and then spawning her back into the game. But when I did this, I noticed something really weird. After I killed her and spawned her back, when I approached the character, she had a new line of dialogue that was really spooky.
Need something? Please don't kill me! You, don't hurt me. Not again. Please, someone do something.
Now, I searched all over the internet for this. She only says this after you've killed her and spawned her back in, and I'm not entirely sure if this is something unique to the Domna Magia NPC, or if this is a more common phrase used by other characters. From my own research, it seems like this is exclusive to just Domna Magia, but again, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm missing a quest or something. So if you know the answer to this, please leave a comment down below. But I think with that plea for help and tone of curiosity, we are going to wrap up. Thanks for watching, everyone. 5 more pieces of cut content in, or not in, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Which pieces of cut content tackled on this list do you wish made it into the final game the most? And what pieces of cut content do you know of that others may not? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for stopping by. I hope to see you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.